is I took my little figure of Mr. Bob Ross. Okay. Mr. Bob Ross. Okay, here he is. So I took my little figure of Bob Ross. Okay. And I really wanted to make sure you guys understood why I was showing you blind contour, because it really looks haphazard. So if I zoom in on this, and some people were saying, well, we can't really see what you got there on your sheet. Okay, so what happens with blind contour? He's frozen. Okay, what happens with blind contour is basically what's happening is you're closing off your ability to see your paper. Phone's away. What you are learning to do is to stare at the answers. The answers in drawing are the what you're drawing. You don't want you don't play video games by staring at your hand and hoping that you're making the right move. Think of how silly that would be. Because like I would not play a video game and stare at my controller.
Would die in fires if that happened.
They would. You would not make it through a screen. And if I do recall, that was the reason when I jumped as Mario onto Yoshi that I may have accidentally jumped off the cliff, because I was looking at the controller trying to figure out which one was the run. And to this day, Simon does not let me play video games with him. He saves it for his grandmother. That's their thing to do together. My mother knows how to do it better. And there you are. So, but the thing is, if the time was taken to let me know where stuff is on the controller so I didn't have to look, I'm sure I could get quite good. And so can you with blind contour. So, phone's away. So with blind contour, what we're going to do, thank you, dear. What we're going to be doing is staring at the answers. We're going to be staring at Bob Ross as we stare with our eye, and it goes around this lovely little man-fro he's got going on. We don't lift up our pencil, and the reason we don't lift up our pencil is this. If you were a blind person and you used a cane, you're feeling your way around, and you're trying to make that mental image in your head. That's what blind contour is. You're feeling around with your pencil, and your eye is tracing the subject at the same time your pencil is trying to figure out where you are in terms of the drawing and trying to piece it together. Okay? So when you think of blind contour, think about sweeping the area with like a cane that kind of sweeps left and right. You're not picking up your pencil and setting it back down. You don't see blind people running through the roads and just touching things at random and hoping that they're not playing in traffic.
That's what I would do.
Darwin would happen real quick, okay? So the blind have it down. They can map out the world just by a constant touch with a cane. And I want you guys to have the constant touch of your pencil against the paper. Because the minute you lift up your pencil, you're not going to remember where to place it back down. Don't lift up your pencil is your easiest solution. So to kind of show you this blind contour in progress, let me just show you real quick. And now when I say real quick, I also mean for you to draw real slow. So careful when I say real quick. All right, so I have Mr. Bob Ross here, and you guys can see a little bit better this time. I'm going to try to stand right over top of it, very much like the camera is. I am going to block my drawing. And I can't go like this, but what I can do is go like this. So I'm going to try to open up my drawing, make it as big as I can. My eye is going along the edges. Your purpose in a blind contour is not to get it right. So if your first intention is to say, well, that doesn't look anything like it, you know, that's not working. That's a wrong reaction. With blind contour, you should see that I don't have a line that's incredibly straight. I'm trying to be like a blind person in that my eye is moving at a consistent rate, and it is matching the speed of my hand. I am recording what I am seeing as I see it. I am not inventing anything. I am allowing things to be scribbly. I am trying to see how much this is the shine on his nose that I see. Here's the nostrils that I see. Here is coming up towards his eyebrows that I see. Now, his eyes and his eyebrows might not even be on his face. It's okay. What this is doing is it's training my hand and my eye to match speeds. Okay? So that is the face of Bob Ross as I have it done there. Okay? It is hysterical. Now, here's the cool thing with blind contour. If you practice it enough, you will actually get your detail and your shape to match it up somewhat. Actually, I wish I had kept going. You know, I got to keep going with this because this is too funky. I'm going to keep going from here, and I'm just going to go on with the paintbrush, and I am blinding myself, but not you. You do want to go slow. I'm actually even looking at negative space between his elbow and his body. Okay, the bigger trick with blind contour is going to be keep things large. What it's teaching you to do, ladies, is to be observant and to make sure that there's details there. Okay? Now, if you look at the way that my line is drawn, can you see how it's nookie? It's kind of like English muffins, it's nookie and cranny-ish. There's not any quick straight lines as it goes across. You can actually tell someone's speed on their line quality. Now, the reason for blind contour is to it gives you a little bit of pre-observation. Some other benefits is that it gets your hand and your eye, it syncs them. Sync. Because it's harder to constantly be glancing back and forth and to keep your speed kind of going at the same time. So when you draw and you're looking at something, you can kind of go back and forth and make sure that things are lining up. But this is actually the rate of speed that you should look at. And if you're going to stare, Neve, and if you're going to stare,
so sorry. Every time my phone goes off, I open it.
When you are staring, you need to stare at, like when you're playing video games, where do you stare?
The screen.
So when you draw, where should you stare more?
The wall.
The door.
Thank you, Lily. And thank you for the eye roll, because then that saves me from doing it. It's much more mature coming from you than me. You guys know, it comes from what you're drawing. So when I see you guys drawing, what you don't want to do is, I love when people do this. They'll be like, oh yeah, I'm going to draw your picture. And 5 minutes later, they come up and they're like, oh, it's got a perfect shape. Oh, it looks like, it looks like a cartoon with no detail and no reality. So this is a type of drawing. Now, there is a place for inventive drawing. Don't get me wrong. There's a place for imagination and creativity. But this drawing is me teaching you how to see. So when you learn how to see, if you want distortions, if you want things to be a little bit more slick and cool, I'm going to show you more contour. Now, when I draw Bob again, I'm going to allow myself to glance back and forth as I draw.
Look at an egg.
Now, you should be drawing, guys, like at least 2 to 3 times slower. I can see where his face and his chin comes in. I can see the angle on the side of his face. I am glancing back and forth. Notice that I have them very close side by side, but I am still not picking up my pencil, even if I make a correction. I don't
like the lines that you got, like the
but you know what, Neve? What's going to happen, and I'm happy that you're very truthful about that you don't like the lines going around. This is you putting more emphasis on the process than the product. As you get better contour lines, as you get better at contour, you can lift your pen up. But for now, as you're learning, I want you to learn blind.
This looks he looks loopy, okay?
He does look a little
I'm
loopy.
just gonna admit it.
He may have had too much turpentine that day and may have washed his brushes a little too long, okay? He looks a little derpy. But here's what we're going for, guys. You have to let go of the idea of perfection. Perfection is people trying to draw Bob Ross and they're like, okay, it's a circle and there's a couple eyes and there's a mustache. Okay, so you don't want people, you want to make sure that you get away from the symbolic way of drawing and saying this means Bob Ross into drawing what you see. Even if it's a little derpy, it's pretty fun. It's cartoonish, okay? So let me quickly just show you some examples of contour. And I want to show you how contour is actually a gateway to realistic